Hey, good day. Welcome to another episode of Raw Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. Pete Buttigieg in his town hall with Chris Matthews on hardball begin to take a strike or begin to tackle hard black issues. Let's see what he got to say.
Hello, Mayor Pete. My name is Nia Parks, and my question to you is, the topic of reparations is coming up a lot in this election, and I would like to know what your take is on that.
All right, before we go in further, it's typical that they're going to have a black person to talk about reparations, and that's okay, but if you had a white person who supported reparations, it would send a stronger message, but here we go.
That, and if elected, how would you go about that strategy of getting back to slavery?
Right. So thanks for your question. I think it's time for us to have this discussion. And there's a proposal in Congress called H.R. 40. It's named after the 40 acres and a mule promise that was made but not kept to former slaves. And it proposes that we set up a commission to look at how we could establish a fair and reasonable way to go about reparations. I believe that we have to do this for this reason. You can't just have racist policies for one generation to another, all the way up to this present day, and replace them with maybe less racist policies or neutral policies and expect everything to just get better. The generational wealth gap for black Americans has so many black families at a net worth of roughly zero. Obviously, that is a consequence of the fact that we live in a country where some people used to own other people. And none of us is free. Even, I mean, look, a lot of people think, well, why should I have to contribute to this in any way? Because I wasn't around in the Civil War or something. But we are living in these racist systems today. And that's why in entrepreneurship, in home ownership, in health, in education, of course, in criminal justice, not to mention in democracy itself, where it is systematically harder for people of color, especially black neighborhoods, to be able to access the vote in so many parts of this country, that we have to systematically reverse that. I think the time has come, and real resources may have to go into that, if only because some of these disparities came about as a result of policy since slavery. I'm not just talking about far-off historic wrongs. I'm talking about the fact that some of our segregated neighborhoods, and of course here in Fresno, there's an egregious pattern of segregation, but it's true in my hometown too. It's not a knock on Fresno. Some of that happened because of policy, because federal subsidies, and this goes, for example, in the FDR administration, actually took neighborhoods that were less segregated and made them more segregated, the way that housing subsidies were distributed. So we've got to be intentional about this, because a lot of intention, unfortunately, brought us to the point we're at right now.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you about that reparations. Back in the Reconstruction era, Thaddeus Stevens, one of my heroes, talked about 30 acres and a mule. Yeah. Is it a quantum of money, or is it like an opportunity to go to a place like Dartmouth or special educational opportunities? What would be the form of reparations that would have an ongoing, enduring value to African Americans in this country, not just money up front, but a change in their opportunity?
Well, that's what.
How do you do it?
Yeah, that's what the commission ought to work out. But there's no way you can do it without putting dollar resources behind it. Now, the right can't wait to caricature this as a check in the mail that they say would be unfair.
But we did it with Japanese Americans.
That's right. And there can be ways of doing this that are fair, or at least bring us to a more just reality than the one we're living in right now.
So, here's Pete Buttigieg's position on reparations. And I applaud Chris Matthews in pushing a little bit further, talking about financial, a check in the mail. Pete Buttigieg said, yeah, I mean, that's what we got the commission for. The commission's supposed to study and find that out. The commission don't need to study. I'm going to keep saying this until I'm blue in the face and you blue in the face. You don't need a commission to study. This has been studied, and we got professionals willing to let you know what you need to do to roll this thing happen, which includes a check and all the other things that you're just talking about right here. We don't need more opportunity. That should be a given. We're not asking for more opportunity. More opportunity is supposed to be ours anyway, because we're American citizens. We were not born, we were dragged here. We didn't volunteer to come here.
I'm kidding. You have to look at them. African Americans are not coming forward as a community to your campaign. What is that about?
So a couple of things. I think the biggest is that we've got to reach out in communities that haven't had a chance to get to know me. If you are neither already famous with a long track record in national politics, nor yourself from a community of color, then of course it's going to take longer for people to come to know and trust you. We were able to do it in South Bend. The minority voters who know me best, by the way, not everybody, of course, but the voters who know me best contributed to that big re-election margin that I was talking about. But I had years to build up that kind of trust. Now, the most important thing is people need to hear the message. What I have to say about how we can make a difference on black home ownership, on health at a time when a black mother is 3 times as likely to die in childbirth as a white mother. Issues in generational wealth building, concepts that don't get talked about much, like the black tax, which is basically the name given to the fact that even for people who do well in professional life, black professionals are more likely to find themselves financially supporting members of their family or close social network, and that this in turn helps make it harder, even for those who've made it into that upper middle class, to build wealth and create that kind of generational shift.
Incomes with other family members. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with the mayor, Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
We are Americans. That flag is our flag, whether you like it or not. And we're just as American as apple pie. We're just and baseball. Now I don't like baseball. I like wrestling. Just as American as WWE, AEW. Just as American as that. So the same rights that you have as white citizens from the top tier to the bottom tier, blacks should have that same right as white citizens from the top tier to the bottom. So whoever at the top, we should have just as many people at the top sharing that same wealth. Now I understand we got people coming, well, what about the average one? Most of you guys came here on your own. That's the difference. You came here on your own. We were dragged here. We had no place to go. Okay, and you weren't gonna send us in a boat back to Africa, go back to Africa. Well, a lot of, that's a whole nother story. I'm not even gonna go there. Because as Malcolm X said, some of y'all was here before we even came here. It's time to just get to be done. This is time for this discussion. We've been discussing this, man. You guys are just taking on the discussion because you were forced to take on the discussion. But we've been talking for this for a long time. Green Party been on this road for a long time. So there ain't no time to talk. It's been time to talk about this. We're not trying to talk about this. We're not trying to have a discussion on reparations. We're demanding reparations, and don't count us to support you until you support us with those reparations. It's done. It's over with. And that's why I tell people, if you want black people support, you better holler at your politicians. Because if they're not supporting reparations in the form that we already have, and people say, well, what do it look like? Get with Dr. Claude Anderson, get with Senator Darity, get with the leaders who've been studying this for decades after decades after decades, and they have a platform to roll it out. Get with them. How about you take some time, get your news cameras, and get your politicians, and every last one of you do like Marianne Williamson do, go to the ADOS conference and learn a little bit more about this. She's supposed to be speaking about this. If you really, really care about reparations for black people, for American descendants of slaves, all of you, get your ticket and go to that meeting. Have some meetings with Sandy Darity and Claude Anderson. Meet with the leaders of black empowerment. I'm not a leader, but I do speak it and I do promote it. I promote self-empowerment. I promote spiritual empowerment. I just want you to be empowered. And I also believe that nobody will determine the power that you have but you. Ain't no white man gonna keep me down. Nobody gonna keep me down. And I don't need a movement, and I don't need a caucus or whatever to make sure that they lift me up. I'm betting on me. Now I believe there's strength in numbers, and that's why I'm in support of this. So Pete Buttigieg, any of you, if you really think that we should be pushing this thing, you really think we should have cash payment along with evening the playing field with all Americans, including white America, because we're not asking to be above. You look at people want to look bad on Muslim charter or the Muslim Bill of Rights, go look at it. Elijah Muhammad never requested to have something better than whites. When it came to Malcolm X or any other person, so-called spiritual leader or political leader or civil leader, they said we want equal in the same because we are equal in the same. We came here with you, dog. We came here with you. It's not your land. You took most of it away from the natives. So it's their land, too. But when it comes to this, we need something separate and different because we were forced here. Taken from our own land, native land, and came here. Now, I'm quite sure Africans made their own way here before the slave trade, and that's why blacks were already here. And I believe blacks did end up getting in a relationship with the Native Americans, and it could have formed some tribes. And I believe some of those tribes end up being overran and taken into slavery too. That's why I keep it ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, because if there's anything that can link you to your family member being a product of slavery, then you get access to this. And it's not always African. It could have been a mixture of African and Native American. And if they can prove that they were taken into slavery with a bill of sale over their head, they should get reparations. Now, majority of it is just going to be those who tied to African slave ships. But you're going to have a few that you're going to be shocked that had slave papers over them too. So, Pete Buttigieg, you almost had it to perfection, but you need to get off this Congress trying to make this thing happen. And Congress need to tune their ears into the people who have already been successful at planning this, and that's all they did was study. No need for you to study. You don't know it all. Congressional leaders don't know it all, and they don't know this. You need to get with the leaders that know this and work with them to make this happen. If not, you can kiss the American Descendants of Slave vote goodbye. And even though you're going through the process of impeaching Trump, he'll probably still win that election again. Why? Because you did not do what you need to do to secure the black vote. I'm Robert Brown with the Rob Report. I'll let you later. Peace. Hey, thank you for watching that episode of the Rob Report. Before you go now, I need you to do two things for me. First thing, I want you to like the video if you liked it. Second thing, I want you to share it all across social media. And if you have not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Stop and do it. As Jimmy Dore says sometimes, you think you're subscribed, or you go check and find out you're not subscribed. So make sure you check that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when I put a new content out. I'm not a fan of Super Chat, so if you plan on giving to the efforts of Bob TV, make sure you do that through Bob TV NYC at paypal.me. Anybody who want to have free access to my Patreon channel, I'm trying to save you money on your cable bill. I ran into a program that I think everybody need, everybody can afford, and everybody should have, and that link is down there below. 5,000 plus channel, best sports package, and the best premium TV and even international channels, and you can access this all over the world. Go ahead and check that out, get your free trial, and if you decide to support, become members of those two services, we'll go ahead and give you full access to the Patreon channel, and there's no cost to it. So my name is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. Thank you for watching. I'll holler at you later. Peace.